Aloha and good afternoon. I think someone has a speaker on here, so this on mute, but aloha and good afternoon. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz and I'm joining you from Honolulu, Hawaii. And with us is Paul Rogers, who's joining us from Australia. And we're continuing to celebrate the launch for World Tourism Network. You will either be with us live at this event, or you may join us from the eTurbo News Network, live stream, Spotify, Apple. So welcome to everyone. There's going to be a very small live crowd. Right now I see 4 of us, so we can keep it very informal. And anyone who wanted to interrupt, I guess, with questions or wanted to add something, feel free to do so. We'll keep you muted otherwise, but you can unmute yourself. You just keep you muted, so this way we avoid background noise in the system. Now, I wanted to just let everyone know we have a number of events set up for the entire month of December, all the way to December 30th, and very interesting subjects for anyone to find out. Just go to WTN.travel, which stands for World Tourism Network, WTN.travel, and click on the big event banner, or just go WTN.travel/expo. Our keynote events, and if you hear this before the keynote events, you can actually attend live, are set for December 9th and December 10th. December 9th, we will introduce World Tourism Network to you, what we do. We'll introduce our board, our chapters, our think tanks, and hopefully get every one of you involved. It's an organization we're building from the bottom up, not from the top down. So it's really up to all our members like you to have a role and a part in this. On December 10th, we have a keynote panel with ministers of tourism, former candidates for the United Nations World Tourism Organization, and we're looking to understand the future of tourism and UNWTO. And our very special guest will be Her Excellency Mai. She's the Minister of Tourism and Culture for Bahrain, and she's currently running to become the next Secretary General of the United Nations World Tourism Organization. And this is really the first panel she's attending, so we're excited to have her, and she will share her insight and discuss it with all of you who wanted to be part of it. Now let's go to Paul. I always call Paul the happy man, and he will explain to you why he is the happy man. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, Jürgen. Great. Thanks very much for that kind introduction. It's great to be here, and it's a fantastic initiative that you're driving forward. You're always doing so many wonderful things, Jürgen. In this session, what I would like to do is give everybody an overview, guide you through a short slide presentation of our project, Planet Happiness. And then I was hoping to bring in colleagues from destinations that we are partnered with to answer three different questions. The last one being about how we're supporting them with their destination recovery. So hopefully colleagues from Vietnam and Canada will come in soon. In the meantime, let me share my screen and guide you through the Planet Happiness project. So we are a tourism and big data project, a project of the Happiness Alliance, a not-for-profit registered in the US. This is a globally respected organization that has been providing tools and resources over the last 10 years to support individual, community, government, and business engagement with the happiness and well-being agenda. The Happiness Alliance is an invited participant of the UAE's World Government Summits and OECD forums on measuring well-being. The key takeaway from this slide that perhaps some of you may not be aware of is that happiness and well-being can be defined and measured, and that these measurements are integrally linked to happiness science, policy and practice that is increasingly being taken up by enlightened governments around the world. Besides the UAE, think of Bhutan as the birthplace of gross national happiness. New Zealand, some of you may be aware of, is heavily engaged in this agenda. Iceland and all EU member states are engaged in different forms of happiness measurement and policy making. If you would like to know more about this, please visit the Happiness Alliance website and perhaps look to buy a copy of this happiness policy handbook, which explains what governments around the world are doing with this agenda. Now, coming to Planet Happiness, we founded this project in August 2018 when we were in a different place to where we are now. Over-tourism was one of the key issues that many destinations were facing. Any critic or commentator around this agenda would tell you that you need to engage the host community in addressing over-tourism issues. As I already mentioned, there is growing global interest in this happiness and well-being agenda. So we were looking to bring these two together around a narrative in tourism to World Heritage sites. But following the pandemic, which we're now all suffering from, we have adapted our offer. We're working with a wider range of destinations. Any destination that is trying to build back from the situation they're in at the moment will need to be placing their communities at the forefront, illustrating that they are a healthy, happy destination to attract tourists. So we believe that destinations can use our approach to support a marketing narrative and engage residents, businesses and governments in building back better as a high quality place to live. So I'm sure you would agree that the adage, a great place to live is a great place to visit, has probably never been more important than it is today. So we invite partners to use our data in a number of different ways to build back better. Now, on the subject of inclusive tourism planning, over the last 20 years, as an advisor to governments around the world, mainly in South and Southeast Asia, I've prepared more tourism management plans than I can care to remember. Many of you will know that this is a process where you reach out not just to the government's tourism department, but environment, culture, finance, education, employment, for example. And then you would reach out as well to the different private sector associations. You would convene workshops, focus groups to design a tourism management plan. Equally important, but less straightforward, it is the need to reach out to local communities, not least to talk about the value of culture and how to bring culture into tourism management and look after the environment, for example. So with this planning approach that we are using, we are able to reach out and engage communities in a way that has never been done before. And the principal tool for doing this is something called the Happiness Index. It's a survey. It is online. It takes 10 to 15 minutes to complete for an individual. And it measures happiness, well-being across these 11 domains. 9 of them are in black. This is based on what Bhutan has done to subjectively measure well-being. And then with a review of international best practice, we have added satisfaction with life and engagement with work. We have also included some questions asking residents about their level of satisfaction with the visitation to their site and the extent to which they think employment opportunities are being created for local people, for example. So we have this survey in 25 languages and counting. It's an OECD recognized peer-reviewed approach, best practice approach to measuring well-being. At the end of taking the survey, the taker gets a one-page scorecard with their scores in blue compared to everybody else that has taken the survey in black. So this is a spark for conversations about your score, the highs and lows of your score. And it also serves as an introduction to how we can define and measure well-being. So if we deploy this survey in a target destination, we can get a scorecard for the destination, the residents, the happiness of the residents in the destination. Here is an early scorecard for Bali, comparing the residents in gold with all other survey takers in grey. So again, this might beg the question, well, what contribution is tourism making to seemingly make the residents happier than most survey takers? But from a tourism planning perspective, I think this gets more interesting when we take away the comparison with everybody else and we stack the scores from low to high. We can see where the strengths are and we can see where the deficiencies are. And we can use these one-page scorecards to ask local community what needs to happen in this deficient area. In this example, access to lifelong learning, the arts and culture, work leisure time balance and sense of community. What can tourism be doing? What policies, what interventions are needed from the tourism sector to strengthen destination well-being? We all know tourism is a vehicle for development. It's an engine of change and growth. So what can happen in this space here to help the destination build back better, promote more responsible, sustainable tourism? Now, while these one-page scorecards are great for sparking conversations and engaging in the happiness and well-being agenda, they are also backed up by more in-depth reports. We prepare reports that are colourful, engaging. They're not overly text-rich. They are illustrative, and it's all about sparking conversations and engaging engaging residents in issues about tourism planning and bringing alignment with the happiness and well-being agenda. So this is about building trust and dialogue, alignment between residents, government, and the private sector. Now, our approach, we have a 10-step approach, which is covered on our website. It's a 10 or 15-minute read to go through that. I won't explain it in too much detail today, but really it's about empowering local stakeholders to manage the process. Ideally, we form a partnership with a destination management organization, local government. It could be a university that is going to support this process. Once a team has an understanding of what we're doing and want to move ahead, we sign a simple 1.5-page agreement. It's not a legally binding agreement. It is rather something that recognizes the roles and responsibilities of both parties moving forward. We then work with the destination and that team to instill an understanding of what is going on internationally, nationally, with the happiness agenda, what questions are in the survey and why, how to deploy it to get the maximum take-up, and what to do with the survey results. Then prior to actually deploying the survey on site, it makes sense to raise awareness through media channels and other activities, so that when residents see the survey link, they are ready to take the survey. They understand what it's contributing towards. So then the survey is deployed, data is gathered, analysed in the way that I've described, community gatherings to present and discuss the findings, select interventions to be implemented. So that's a quick overview of the 10-step process. Now, colleagues at the World Bank that we've been in discussions with have asked us to put together a presentation illustrating the linkages and alignment between the happiness agenda, what is covered in the Happiness Index survey, and the alignment with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. As you can see, there is good coverage, and it's recognized that annual deployment of our survey doesn't just measure the impacts of the project, but that has been designed and implemented following the deployment of the survey. It also helps to measure movement towards the SDGs and engages residents more actively in this discourse. Where are we at the moment? We have around 20 partnerships around the world, from China, Canada, Indonesia, Vietnam, for example. We have a partnership agreement with the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. Some of you may be aware that well-being is terminology that is used in their destination criteria, talking about how tourism should be supporting community well-being. We come in there then to help define what well-being is and measure progress towards social impact and sustainability there. We have various partnerships with destinations around the world, conversations with media groups to bring together conferences to build synergies between the different sites and share best practice between them. The World Travel and Tourism Council, you may be aware they have recently launched a video on the social impacts of travel and tourism. Over the last 30 years, they've done a wonderful job of measuring the economic impacts. Attention now needs to go to measuring social impacts, which is where we come in. WTTC have written to recognize and acknowledge the value of our approach, and we have a conversation with them moving forward. Very quickly looking to the future, following the onset of the pandemic, we've been approached by corporates that are engaged in the AI, artificial intelligence agenda. We believe there are opportunities for survey takers if they are vulnerable in areas of psychological well-being or economic hardship, for example. They could be prompted to answer additional questions. And then if these systems are linked up with multi-facing dashboards in local government departments, that would allow the government to identify where there are clusters of people that are vulnerable. It would also allow for the co-creation across government departments and survey takers in interventions to support recovery, either through health issues or equally through the design of tourism programs and initiatives. People may choose to keep their data private on their phone or engage in what we're calling citizen science projects to co-create interventions, speed up the design, and also improve feedback loops for them. This is a quick illustration of what the data pipeline would look like to be GDPR data compliant. We're currently in the process of writing up the system's requirements for this. It will take some time to roll out, but it's a very progressive and exciting agenda linked to strengthening governance through AI systems, which many governments around the world are taking more and more seriously. Another quick description of a project we have or are able to offer. Colleagues in Europe that have been responsible for programs like MasterChef have come up with an initiative for a new film media program called A Taste of Happiness that would focus upon local food heroes, the growers, the producers of culinary delights. Could be cheeses, could be wines, olives. And so these would be 12-minute videos that interview that local hero against the backdrop of the scenery of a destination. There would be questions in there, conversations in there about what makes them happy, what makes them passionate about their work. These videos could be 12-minute local hero profiles, can be stitched together to have a program, an hour's program on a destination. Equally, through the real performance marketing approach, if I was thinking about visiting Vietnam, Sapa, and looked for activities to do, in the next couple of days, a prompt would come up on the YouTube feed for a local food hero story to help you market and promote the destination. So this is of interest not just to destinations, but food brands, drinks, drink companies, wines, to highlight attention of the destination and support a marketing recovery approach. So I've covered a lot of ground there. with these different points. So I'll exit from that presentation. I can see we have my colleague. Excuse me a moment. Let me just get organized with my screen. That's better. I'm very pleased to say we have Miss Vung Hoang, the chief of the culture department in Sapa in northern Vietnam. Hi, Vung. Morning.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yeah. Good morning. It was morning in Vietnam.
Great. Yeah. It's nice to see you. Thanks for joining, Vung. We were hoping to have a colleague, Mr. Jerry, from the tourism department in Vanuatu, but unfortunately he's been called to a high-level government meeting today, so I had to step back. So Vung, I was hoping if we could put these questions to you. The first one would be, how can you share with us and tell us how SAPA is responding to the impacts brought about to your sector from the COVID crisis in Vietnam? How are you coping and there?
Well, Sapa, as you know, is located in northwest of Vietnam, and we are quite famous, being one of the best destinations of tourism in Vietnam. And in 2019, we welcomed about 3.3 million visitors. But when the COVID's coming, up to now, Sapa gets only 1.2 million visitors. So the number of visitors come to Sapa is decreased like one third compared to 2019. To respond with the COVID, we have a lot of things to do because Sapa is famous for the international visitor. But when the COVID comes, not many international visitors can come to Sapa anymore. So we have to change the tourism activity to meet with the domestic visitor. We do a lot of sightseeing, checking points, and other fun activity for the domestic and especially for the young people to come to Sapa. But still, the situation is still there because most of the business in the towns, in the main towns and in the bigger destination or sightseeing, they can do quite well. But with the local community, they suffer heavily from the COVID because most of the CBD sites in Sapa are the destination for international visitors. Most of them lost the job for almost a year. About 10% of the business in the CBD are still doing the business, but not many people come. So with the situation, we have the local community to set up the homestay and to have some performance and activity fit for the young children. And now the visitor, the domestic visitor started to feel like they want to come to the village more than before. So that's a good thing because we think that the COVID situation in global, in general, could take a long time to be recovered. So domestics could be the main tourists to come to Sapa for the next years or the 2 years to come.
Yeah, right, great. So as I understand it, in the villages around Sapa, with the community-based tourism, this was more a product previously that international visitors would enjoy. So they have been hurt particularly badly with the pandemic, And so now the focus is on trying to encourage the domestic market to take a higher interest in the community-based tourism and the through homestays and other excursions in those villages.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find your information quite interesting, because here at World Tourism Network and our rebuilding, we had discussed domestic and regional tourism from the very beginning and the importance. And I think Vietnam seems to be seeing this, because if you're saying there is only 1/3, you still have 1/3 of your tourism. That's tremendous compared to other destinations. If I'm in Hawaii, and if I look at here, we had 2 or 3% of our tourism. So keeping 1/3, that is quite an achievement. Now, are these numbers then switching from, when you look at this 1/3 of the numbers you had before, what is the percentage of domestic tourism roughly, do you know, compared to what the percentage of domestic tourism was before the epidemic?
Yeah, in 2019, the number of visitors, the international visitor come to Sapa is about come up with 20%, but this year it's only about 7 to 8% of the number. Actually, we still have the number of international visitors come to Sapa, because we still have a big number of foreigners working in Vietnam. So they still prefer to choose Sapa to be their vacation, the choice for the vacation.
But if they're workers, of course, they kind of could be considered locals, just with a foreign passport, basically. This is type of the regional tourism then altogether, even if they're foreigners, right?
Oh, okay, that could be maybe the different system of counting, because
right.
Yes, in Vietnam, everyone from the outside countries, they could be considered, they are not a Vietnam resident. I mean, that they could be considered to be the foreign, the international visitor.
Right.
So even they work in Vietnam or they just come to Vietnam, they still international visitor. Those.
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
It's probably a matter of mathematics.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then in terms of how does the engagement of Planet Happiness fit into your strategy for destination management looking forward, Vung?
Yeah, thanks, Paul, for the questions. When I mean, before the COVID coming, Sapa is one of the destinations that we think people will come, the visitor will come anyways. But when the COVID happened, no visitor comes. So that's the time for the business people and the local authority to set up and think. If Sapa don't have the sustainable approaches, that could be we could lose the visitor, because before that we have big problem with the environmental issues in Sapa, with a lot of waste, a lot of garbage on the streets, and a lot of construction going on. But when the COVID comes, it's the time for people to think the tourism is very important sector in economies in Sapa. So we think that we cannot just care about the tourists, but we need to care about the happiness of the local communities. They need to be happy in their own hometown or in their own village. So when Pons come and introduce me about the happiness planners, I feel very interested about the project, and I convinced the local authority to apply it to some of the CBDs site in Sapa, but then we spread it into the towns in general. I just want to know, because this is the first term, first years of 5 years strategy for Sapa developments. So it is a good time for us to measure how Sapa people happy about their life, to compare with 5 years later, how their happy, how their life quality change after 5 years. So that is why I think happiness planet tools that Paul introduced to me is very fit for Sapa situation now.
Great. Thanks, Vung. That's great. Jürgen, do you want to ask a question, or perhaps Denise or Stephen? You're on mute, Jürgen.
Sorry about that. Denise in Trinidad had a question earlier. You wanted to ask your question, Denise?
Pardon me?
We're just seeing, Vung, if Denise would like to ask a question.
I think, are you unmuted, Denise?
Yeah.
Well, she may have a problem with the microphone.
Yeah.
So let me read, she typed the question here. It says, she was asking, she would love to be the first partner or destination in the Caribbean to work with you, and asking if you're working with tourism associations.
Yeah, we would be delighted to look at partnering with you, Denise. If you can, well, I can put my email in the chat box down here. We don't have any partners in the Caribbean at the moment, so that would be wonderful to connect and see what we can do together. Yep, there we go. That's the email. Okay. Let's come back to Vung. I'm just trying to think of questions. Is there anything else you would like to share, Vung, about the priorities of SAPA in its recovery? What steps are you trying to do that link in with the Planet Happiness process?
We lost her, so I don't know. Maybe we lost her connection in the process. I'm not sure.
Yeah, she's gone on to mute.
Yeah, but this, sometimes happens. If your bandwidth can fluctuate sometimes quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like always a very fascinating discussion you have, and I think you're in the right business at the right time. That's why we call you the happy man. And and since we also added Hawaii news online, and I see we got a few people watching us here on Facebook from Hawaii, and you had mentioned Hawaii, right? That you would love to reach out to Hawaii. So tell me, what could you do for Hawaii, for example?
Well, as we can see, it's going to take some time to recover from the COVID pandemic. I see Thailand has recently announced that it's going to wait until the spring before bringing tourism back. So what can destinations do in the meantime to support the sector and prepare for that coming back? And Hawaii is of interest because I've seen in the media that they want to reach out to the residents of Hawaii to engage them in discourses about tourism development and how it is being managed in the islands. And so if you're trying to engage local people in these conversations, then I think that doing it on a well-being agenda is a great way to go. I think, if we look at Bhutan and people going to Bhutan with the gross national happiness is a unique selling point of the country and its system, its governance approach. And so people go there and they're intrigued. They want to know about this well-being agenda. And by taking the Happiness Index survey, it is an introduction to what we mean by defining well-being, the quality of life. And so it gives the opportunity to spark conversations about how tourism should link with improving the quality of life of local people. I think we can see in the past, pre-pandemic, that in the tourism development process, companies are obviously pursuing profits, quite naturally so. Destinations are keen to celebrate their unique selling points and are focused on key performance indicators such as measuring visitor numbers and the income and the investment from the sector, for example. So in this process, the host community is slowly but surely disenfranchised. It's not engaged in the same way that the business is pursuing the sector and that governments are. But as we know, visitors come to a destination, they want to meet local people. They want to go out on all different types of tours and excursions, engaging with local people, perhaps in culinary tours, as I've described, or adventure activities. They could be environmental projects. There is a big surge in or a big high interest in regenerative travel at the moment. Tourism can help improve the quality of life in a destination. So we're all about linking up with these systems to support the build back in a way that ensures that tourism is going to benefit the widest possible number of local people, and obviously the businesses themselves. So in terms of Hawaii, I think we can support a dialogue to engage residents, engage all sector employees through this narrative, to encourage them to pick up the health and safety protocols that need to be put in place to give visitors the confidence to come return to the destination. So visitors, I think, are more likely to come to destinations where they feel confident that protocols are in place, that they are going to be welcomed by local people. So, you know, these are various statements that suggest where synergies and opportunities would lie in a partnership with us.
I mean, now not many people are talking about over-tourism anymore, but it has been a big subject, not only here in Hawaii. If you look at Barcelona, for example, they actually had almost violent protests against tourism. They didn't want any more tourism. Now, how do you see this change in the new norm we're all facing in regards to tourism, and where would you come in with your project for destinations that have to just deal with massive tourism because of the infrastructure, hotel infrastructure and everything else, how it's set right now is just built on numbers. How would you approach this?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jürgen. Before answering, just to say once again to invite Vung to come back into the conversation and contribute perhaps to some answers to these questions. Please do, Vung. There you are.
Yeah.
Okay. I will just quickly try and answer Jürgen's question. I think following the collapse of tourism, well, a number of people have said to me that, you know, these people that you quoted there, Jürgen, that were protesting against visitation, these destinations would have employed huge numbers of people in the tourism sector. Those jobs have gone or been severely undermined, and so I'm sure the opinions of residents will have been changing, their thoughts about tourism, and I'm sure the residents and the government and the private sector want to build back better. And I think we can support that process of building back better. Vung, how do the residents in Sapa, have you noticed any change in people's discussions about tourism pre and post the situation?
Yes, actually there are a lot of discussions between the government and the business sector and the community about the tourism in Sapa. Because before that, we are quite very busy to serve for tourism, and we have no time to solve some of other problems in tourism. So this is a time for us to do it. For example, we based on the the visitor opinions about tourism in Sapa. They think that Sapa needs to be improved, the conference structures. Then we need to improve the environmental program in Sapa. And we need to have better tourism skill training for the local community. So this is the time for us to do it right now, because since we do not have many tourism to come, so it's time for us to upgrade or to grade up for the tourism activity in Sapa right now.
Yeah, thanks. And you know, where I see our process supporting this is that if governments are deploying the happiness index, which is focused upon local quality of life and well-being and seeking to improve that, then residents can see that governments are reaching out to them, and the environmental issues that you talked about, Vung, they can't just be solved by the government alone, right? They have to be solved in partnership with communities, companies, employees. And so I would like to think that our process supports that discourse to help people focus on key issues and support the sector to win back the employment that people have lost.
Yes. So actually, when COVID comes, about more than 12,000 of people in Sapa lost their jobs. So that is very big issues. And with the CBD side, 90% of them lost their income. So yeah, it's quite serious in Sapa. Also, the agriculture products, before that we use all of the agriculture product for tourism, but since not many tourism come, the local people also cannot sell the product also. So yeah, it's impacted tourism, but it impacted the other sectors of economies in Sapa also.
Yeah, I think
tell us maybe a little bit more. And I have to maybe excuse my ignorance, but I'm not familiar with Sapa. So what is Sapa about? Just tell us a little bit more. We're in Vietnam. We all know the big cities in Vietnam, but I don't know anything about Sapa. I don't even know where it is. I'm trying to Google it here. So.
Okay, that's a good question. Jürgen, Sapa is one small town located in northwest of Vietnam. We have we located in Lao Cai province, which is the province have border with China.
Okay.
Yeah. So Sapa is very famous for three regions. We have very typical climates. We have a very cool summer, and sometimes we have snow in the winter. So that makes Sapa very special in Vietnam. There's not many places in Vietnam have this kind of weather. The second is the landscape. Sapa have very beautiful landscape. It's Tom, you may know, with very high mountain. We have Fancy Pen Mount, which is considered to be the roof of Indochina. And we have National Park, Hoàng Liên National Park is considered to be one of the biggest national parks in Vietnam. And the third sector makes Sapa very famous is that we have 5 very typical ethnic cultures. And the local culture here, the local people here still keep their traditional 5 worlds from architectures, way of life, and clothing, handicrafts. So everything makes them very stand out. And with that region, the international visitor, when they come to Vietnam, they would choose Sapa as one of the itineraries.
Perfect. Well, I hope you choose World Tourism Network and join us, so we can talk more about Sapa. Maybe have a session just about Sapa and introduce you to our many other members in the travel and tourism industry. Sounds like a fascinating place to put on your bucket list, you know?
Yeah, thank you for those opportunities. Thank you. Yeah.
It's if you Google it again, Jürgen, or anybody, and you look look at the images, if you go to the images page, you'll see some spectacular shots of terraced rice paddies. And as Vung mentioned, the ethnic communities. It's a wonderful cultural landscape. Yeah, Phan Xipang is the highest point in Vietnam. There is a cable car now from Sapa town up to the highest point, which is hugely popular. And the destination has a strong history. It was a French hill station to escape the heat from Hanoi in the summer. So yeah, there are so many things to do and see: adventure tourism, cultural tourism. It's a great place.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul.
It's fascinating. It's always great to have Paul on board because you know his approach is so different, and I think it's a healthy approach for destination to work with Paul. It gets tourism back to its roots and to what it should be. You know, we all can have sand and sea destinations, and we all can have discos and nightlife. But does it make people happy? Some people, you know, but something to think about.
Yeah, even in Sapa before that, actually the tourism economies compounds about 60 to 70% of the economies in Sapa. But in the village, it compounds about only 30%. But how about the other 70%? How they feel about tourism? So that is the thing that we want to care. And as the CBT approach in the coming years, we think that we will set up different groups of the people that they can take part in CBT sites. Like they can have set a group for the agriculture, so that they can sell the product to the homestays and restaurants in the site. And with the handicraft, they can have their own clubs so that they can sell the product for the visitor, so that everyone can be happy when the tourists come. So that is what we think about for the 5 years to come with Sapa site. Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. Well, I don't know, Paul, if you have anything else to add from your side, but I have to say I'm quite impressed, both, of course, with you, Paul, but also with Huang from Sapa. So I will definitely put some time in to study your part of the world a little bit more. And thanks, Denise, for participating. You've been at many of our events, and it's much appreciated. And Trinidad, I don't know if you have a carnival in Sapa, but if you do, maybe there's a way to team up here with Denise in Trinidad. I can tell you, I've not been to Trinidad, but I've seen the Trinidad Carnival in the Seychelles, and wow, was that impressive. So there's so many things in the world that can make tourism happy and makes tourism different, and thanks for being part of it.
Yeah, great. Thanks very much, Jürgen. Thanks very much, Vung, for joining as well. Denise, I look forward to hearing from you. We have a lot of different conversations going on all over the place, and we have started one in the last week, which it's a little bit too early to share news, but we are looking to work with some brand ambassadors to carry our message forward. Yeah, we'll share more updates with you in due course. We're only going to grow.
Thank you very much, Paul, and everyone else who is listening. Go to wtn.travel, click on our event, or go to wtn.travel expo, and you'll find all these presentations, this one and many more that are coming. So far, I think we have 31 already in the making between now and the end of December. And if you read eTurbo News, just look at the screen. It's running back to back. You can get a lot of the repeats of these events we had. And then, of course, the archive. But more important, we're celebrating the launch for World Tourism Network, We now have a little bit more than 1,000 members in 122 countries. And I hope this will grow. Please spread the word. Join us if you haven't done so. Most of what we do is free, so we're not after your money, but we are building an organization from the bottom up, and we want everyone to be a part of it. Thank you everyone for listening, and thank you to those that actually participated live on this show. And thank you for everyone for tuning in. And if you need to get in touch with us, go to wtn.travel, just click on contact, and we'd be happy to share. Also, Paul, if you wanted to share your presentation, we'd be happy to upload it. Maybe you wanted to lead the Happy Initiative for WTN, and we are launching all the initiatives we have on December 9th. Just let us know. I think it would add tremendous to what we're doing. Well, anyways, okay. I can say aloha from my end. I'm German, by the way, but I lived in Hawaii for 30 years, so I can now slowly say aloha, and hope to see you again at another event soon.
Yeah.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye.